Good evening and welcome to the first of three meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove. And at this time, we'll convene our Board of Sanitation meeting for Monday, July the 16th, 2018. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my far right.
Dave Harrison.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been presented a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated Monday, July 2nd, 2018. Floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections.
I have none. Thank you.
I have none.
No questions, comments, or corrections. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. This evening, Board, we have 3 pages of wastewater claims in the amount of $132,988.50. The floor is open for any questions or comments.
I have none.
I have none.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to approve the wastewater claims dated July 16th, 2018 in the amount of $132,988.50.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. We have no unfinished business to carry over from the previous meeting. We have no new business for this board. Comments from board members?
I have none.
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
The meeting is adjourned at 6:03 PM, and as soon as Dan resets, we will go right into the Board of Works meeting.
I'm ready.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the second of 3 meetings tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove, and at this time, we will convene our Board of Public Works and Safety meeting for Monday, July the 16th, 2018. In lieu of a roll call, I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my far right.
Dave Harrison.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Sandy Seward.
Thank you, Board. You have been given a printed copy of the minutes of the previous meeting dated Monday, July the 2nd, 2018. Floor is open for any questions, comments, or corrections.
I have a couple corrections, please, Dan.
All right,
On page 2,
all right.
the resignation in DPW. Can we say who that person was? Can we add Joe Ramey?
Mine says Joe Ramey.
And mine does not.
It says Sandy Seward moved to approve hiring. Oh, to fill the vacancy, I'm sorry.
Yep. Page 2, very
Okay.
first. Yeah, Brad Merriweather read the resignation letter into the record from
Yeah.
Joe Ramey. We
Okay,
can just add his name.
absolutely.
And then the next, request to hire DPW. The end of the sentence just says Dave. Can we add Dave Harrison, second the motion, which was approved by unanimous voice vote?
Okay,
Do you see that?
yeah,
I can give you my copy if you like it.
all right.
And that's it. Thank you, Dan.
Any other corrections?
I have none.
Now I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes with the amendments.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. This evening, Board, we have 26 pages of corporate claims in the amount of $897,515.38. The floor is open for questions or comments.
I have none.
I have none.
No questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion to pay the corporate claims dated July 16, 2018 in the amount of $897,515.38.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you.
that back? Yeah. Sanitation.
Add both of them.
Just got both of them. Oh, okay, there's both of them. All right.
We have no unfinished business to carry over from the previous meeting. This evening, under new business, we have several items. First off is a professional service agreement with Indy Teledata. Board, to go back in time, Lynn Rackaway has been doing our IT work since around 1996. And he approached us a few weeks back and said that he wanted to phase out of doing the IT work and wanted to bring it to our attention. So Dan and I met and we talked about if there was somebody local that either of us knew that would want to do IT work for the city. So I reached out to Steve Badiato with Indy Teledata, and we had a conversation, and then all of us met, Dan and I and Steve and Lynn, and to talk about the future of IT in the city and how relevant it is, and the fact that we need to continue to make improvements and make it better for the system-wide, especially police, fire, and the clerk's office. So Steve has agreed to come on board, and I wanted to approve a professional service agreement between Indy Teledata and the city to be open and transparent with this process. Lynn has been doing it since the mid-90s, and he never charged us more than $60 an hour, which is really cheap. So it's besides entering into the agreement, we had to decide how we were going to pay Steve, whether it be hourly or by month. Dan came up with a really good idea, and I think the board should approve the professional service agreement with Indy Teledata and then let the clerk decide how the claims are paid. So I want to hear from Steve. So Steve, could you come up?
I've never done this before, so do I stand here, there? Right here. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about Indy Teledata.
Oh, so Indy Teledata, we are a locally based IT company. We help folks with everything from cabling, websites, procuring new gear, management, maintenance of Macs, PCs, cell phones, Android or Apple, really doesn't matter. Kind of anything that plugs into a network, we help folks take care of. We're headquartered at Thompson in Madison Avenue, so not far from here. We started in April of 2011, so we've been at this 7 years as Indy Teledata. I personally have been at this business for about 35 years. We have a staff of 6 full-time employees, 5 of which are engineers, and then we've got a little bit of admin help as well. We have done some work previously for the city of Beech Grove and helping Lynn either with a couple projects or when he has been unavailable due to vacation. So we were pleased to get the call that you were interested in utilizing us more long-term. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for questions.
Can you talk about how you would, if we, this is not for, equipment would not be included, so how would you go about with the clerk about finding the best price and?
So what we would typically do with what we call a monthly client, so we would come up with a fixed amount above invoice that we would, quote, bid. We would also then go solicit other bids for that same equipment and then just compare the numbers and decide where we would procure that equipment from. We do this with, probably 6 or 8 of our clients right now where we know what that number is going in. We have put that in the fixed monthly agreement. If you would like us to write it into an hourly agreement, if that's the direction you decide to go for the near term or long term, we're happy to write that number in there as well. It's just easier in a public setting, especially, to know what those numbers are going in. And we're happy to show, where we got the bids from, whether it's CDW or Best Buy or Tech Data, Ingram Micro. It doesn't really matter to us. Gear isn't the business we're in. We're in the service business. We just try to make sure our clients get the correct gear. So we try to spec out the right thing and then get the numbers, show what the numbers are, and then move forward with that. So.
Can you name some of your clients?
No, I'm kidding. So our biggest client is Roncalli High School. We manage about 1,800 devices there. We're responsible for that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A couple of our other clients are White River Township Fire Department, which is essentially the Center Grove area. And then, a number of other clients in and around town: Beck Service Center, Beck Automotive, the Southsider Voice, American Business Machines. We actually just signed a contract. We had a Good Friday, by the way. Signed a contract with St. Mark Church and School to take care of all their IT support. So our numbers are about 50 clients right now that we've built up over the past 7 years. And very, very honored to be asked to add the city of Beech Grove to that list.
About the website?
Yeah. One question first, and then we'll go on to that. Can you tell them and in January, I plan on going with the monthly. It's right now, I'm not sure where we're at budget-wise, but can you tell them the advantage of being on that monthly service versus the hourly rate?
Well, the biggest advantage is paperwork, but beyond that, allows you all to budget. And I know that you've got multiple departments. You'd have to figure out, how each of those departments would participate in that one monthly fee. But the real issue with it is that folks that have a problem don't hesitate to call us. Where today what's going to happen is someone's got to go, gee, I'm having a little problem with my computer. Do I want to spend $60 an hour to have it fixed? In a fixed monthly agreement, that takes that question out of the equation. There's no reason to not call us, right? So we find the relationship gets a lot stronger. We begin to do things a lot more proactively, because today I'd have to ask permission. Who's going to pay the bill if we're going to look at the server and do server updates and verify the backups are working. Some of the planning and strategy things get difficult in an hourly environment. In a monthly environment, we just become your IT person, so to speak, and you know what that cost is going in. We can budget, make sure we're staffed appropriately based on the types of monthly clients that we have. So it just changes the dynamic a little bit. I think you'll find it's a higher level of service because folks won't hesitate to call us then. And so we prefer that, but we can work either way. I will share with you that our $60 an hour rate is a discounted rate. Typically, if someone just calls us, it's $100 an hour. You got to pay fuel and benefits and all those kind of things, and we've got skilled engineers that have certifications and college degrees and those kind of things. So we felt that number was fair, especially in light of what the number you're coming from. Lynn did an awesome job the last 22 years, especially as a one-man show, so to speak. He also provided you an awesome value the past 22 years from an hourly rate. So we try to come in with a fair number. I mentioned it to one of my folks that has an interest in the business, and they looked at me a little strange. I said, well, we'll be fine. We'll do it for that. We'll do a great job, and we'll all be good, and we'll look back a year from now, and the relationship will be strong, and be happy that we entered into it, so.
Well, and I appreciate everything Lynn has done for us. And I know when Lynn was leaving here, his hourly rate was $40 an hour. So some people would think 60 might be extreme, but it is.
It is not.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you told me it was 40 an hour, you'd have to find someone else to help you.
Well, and I know when Lynn was plowing streets for Brad, he was $40 an hour, where some of the other people were $100 an hour. So he did give us an awesome price on some
He
of that
did,
stuff.
and did a great job. He really did. Yeah.
And then one other thing, I had contacted Steve after we had met and everything else. And so I told him I was interested in handing the city website off to someone else. When I'm leaving here, I want it in good hands because I'm proud of it. But anyway, Steve offered to do that for the same price where we're at right now. I will still collect the information and then just send it over to him, and they'll put it on. And I think that's exceptional.
Yeah, oddly enough, we got started with that same platform that you all are using because my wife was the chamber director at the time and called Lynn and asked him what you did for your website. So we actually have about 15 websites on that same Weebly platform. Very comfortable with it. My staff's trained on it, and so we're happy to do that. We'll do it hourly. If we decide to go into the monthly agreement, we'll just absorb that into it. Not a big deal.
And Steve and I talked before the meeting tonight. Where I'm at right now, January 1st, I want to go on the monthly on a monthly fee. Right at the exact moment, I'm not sure where we're at on our IT budget, whether I can actually do that for the remainder of the year. Right now, the biggest user of IT is the police department's number one, city hall's number two, then fire would come in third. But, it's not fair to charge the senior center, same thing we'd charge city hall. So some numbers got to be broke down, see where we're at and so forth. And anyway, this will be budgeted in next year's budget, the $2,500 a month, I think.
Yes, I think it's that. Might be
Yeah.
24, but I'd have to look.
Yeah. But anyway, Steve has done work with Lynn previously, so, it's not like someone strange is coming in, never seen anything here. He knows how it was, and I will give Lynn credit. Some of this was put together with Band-Aids at one time, and it's been upgraded. Tonight, I just told him for the meeting that we want to go through and get a new switch over to the police department, which is going to be approximately $7,500. So,
It's a little less than that, but if you want to pay me $7,500, that's okay. We can get it done for that.
But anyway, we want to upgrade all of our system here in the city.
Other questions for me?
Board, any questions or comments?
So if anybody has problems here in the city with their computer, they would call your help desk, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then define tier 2 and tier 3.
Oh, so in our business, there's typically 3 tiers. So folks that kind of triage, what we call help desk, that first call, you fix printers, maybe could load a piece of software on, those kind of things would fall into tier 1. Tier 2 is folks who do mostly like server type things. So here you've got a server that manages your security, manages your files, those kind of things. That would fall into Tier 2 support. Tier 3 is most of your network stuff, so the things that you've got, I believe, 7 location, well, no, because you've got some combined locations, but 7 departments, but all those talking together, the printers talking to the computers, talking to the wireless, the internet, all those kind of things would fall into Tier 3 type support. What you would find if you kind of comb the industry is there'd probably be different price levels for each of those. We just kind of throw it all in together. I will share with you, frankly, that about 80% of what we do is not hard or difficult, it's paying attention. And 20% gets hard and difficult. We cover the whole range of that under this one agreement. So once again, it'd be like you hired someone, you just hire us on contract. But you also get the benefit of myself 35 years, my brothers 25 to 30 years, and then we've got some younger folks that, 5, 10 years each. So you get that benefit. Once again, Lynn did an awesome job, especially for one person. I started my company by myself. I went stir crazy trying to answer all the questions myself. I love working with a team. And so we're excited to bring that team approach to this. But Lynn actually sent an email out because he went on vacation. But we actually have business cards with our phone number and our email to be able to get service. My plan is over the next couple weeks to get out to all the departments and give everyone one of those business cards. The trick here is a little different than most of our locations. We've got to then get that department head to approve our services before we perform them. So just one little extra step for us. And I've got a person that runs our help desk that we've been talking about this process to make sure that we're okay. So we get a request in, we make sure the department head's good with it, and then we move forward. And then we gotta make sure the billing's correct as well. So just a couple little details, we can get through it. We're happy to do that. But we've got business cards specific with our service information on it. So folks can efficiently get a hold of us.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve entering into an agreement for IT services with Indy Teledata.
Make said motion.
Aye, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll excuse myself.
And I want to do another one, motion. You go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
That allows the clerk to go ahead and sign the agreement and let the clerk decide on how the payment is made.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you. And we do want to thank Lynn for all the work he's done. He's done quite a bit. But this is very important stuff, so we got to get it right. All right, on to LPA agreement for the Thompson Road Trail. For public's information, the city was awarded a little over $410,000 for the construction of sidewalks on Thompson Avenue, or Thompson Road from Emerson to 9th Street. GAI Consultants is the consulting agency, engineering agency that will design the trail. So they're here tonight to take us through it and talk about the consulting contract. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Scott Hornsby with GAI Consultants. Pleased to be up here tonight to present the LPA consulting contract between City of Beech Grove and GAI to perform the professional services to design and get the project ready for construction. Thompson Road Trail from 9th Avenue to Emerson Avenue. It's about 0.6 miles long. There's a small bridge over a swale slash creek that we're going to span on this. It's going to run on the north side of Thompson Road, and it's very much needed project. It was actually the highest scored MPO every year. There's a call for projects, and they give out money on, I don't remember how many dozens, 2 or 3 dozen projects, and this project actually scored the highest, and which is I guess that's a good thing. I mean, it shows a huge need too out there, but it's awesome that the city got the money check sitting back here. So Our contract is for $217,120. And I've got a schedule here that I presented to the mayor earlier that it's over a 5-year period. We expect to get started right away, and the project will run up to the NDOT letting, which is scheduled for March of 2022. The mayor asked if it could be possible to put this on an expedited schedule, and we could definitely do that. There's many times where the MPO has money available in advance, fiscal year in advance. So I put together 2 schedules for you guys to review, so you could budget whether you want to do a 5-year development process or a 4-year, and moving that up a year to 2021. So, Mayor, would you like me to present these, or you got questions before I do that?
I would open it up for a discussion with board members. Board have comments or
I have a
questions?
I do have a question. You said it was that this project has scored the highest in what?
It scored the highest in how they rank the projects on safety and mobility and need. It's a pretty elaborate scoring system the MPO uses.
Thank you.
I think the 6.5 years I've been mayor and serving on the administrative committee, I've only seen, I think, 2 projects that have scored 100, and that was one of them. It's rare, very
Yeah.
rare. But they came out and they seen it, and they realize, like everybody who comes down through there, the need for this project, and I don't think, Dan and I was talking about it the other day, I don't think they could do this soon enough.
Yeah, I know
Very
Indigo,
risky out there.
Indigo's going to upgrade some of the stations there. We're going to work with them on that as well to incorporate their needs.
And I appreciate the information because we talked about it today. We have to know what to budget for next year for this project, so this will help. It's hard to budget, put money in a budget for this year when you don't know if you're gonna get funded or not. So that's kind of what puts you in the trick bag a little bit. And that's why we didn't fund it for this year, because we didn't know what would happen.
Right.
So now we have to work to get it in the budget for next year.
My question to you is, in 18, it shows 81,510, and in 19, 88,370. So I guess my question is, should we combine these and budget 170,000 and get 18 and 19 both, so they're taken care of?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be the best way to do it.
Because he and I both agree on this. We don't want someone to get killed out there before we get this project done. And
Right.
it's a dangerous situation out there, and I can understand why it was scored one of the highest or the highest.
I will also note that not everything is in this original contract. You'll notice under the engineering column on this spreadsheet, it adds up to 239,880. Part of that's an estimate, it's a little bit higher than the contract I'm presenting tonight, because we typically like to take the project to about 60% and get the appraisers involved to understand the impacts of the projects and the parcels, and they'll know exactly, once we develop the project at that point, what type of appraising we're gonna need and that kind of thing. If we put it in today, we're kind of estimating it, and there's no sense to estimate too high or too low. It's just easier to know that you guys, I'll be coming back in a couple of years with a small amendment to add that in to get us to the finish line.
Is there any properties that have to be bought for this project to go forward?
Yeah, we expect, well, we put $45,000 in here. We expect some slivers along there. It depends on when we get into it and to find out. It looks like most of it's available already, you know, but you just never know.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members?
So, will any of the residents that will be impacted by the trail, like through their property
It's, most of it goes through the easement
Okay.
behind their property, but even if that's the case, we will always make notification to them and let them have input on what improvements could be made back there while this is going on. This isn't just a 4-foot, 6-foot sidewalk. This is a 8-foot trail. So there'll be some aesthetics that go through there, and you want to make it pretty along with servability. So I'm sure those people back there will want to have some input on what this thing's going to look like.
And it's a federal project, so there'll be public meetings. They'll have the option of having a public hearing like we are on the roundabout project on Churchman at the appropriate time. And I've already spoke to one property owner that's got some drainage concerns, and they sent me pictures. I forget the name of them, Mayor. You put them in touch with me, and even though this is not a drainage improvement project, we'll do what we can to
Sure.
fix it while we're out there.
Is this an 80-20 grant?
It's actually
70-30.
70-30
70-30?
for construction and construction inspection.
Okay.
So if you take the columns, the right two, the construction CN and construction engineering, and the NDOT portion of it, that adds up to the 410,836.
Okay, let's go through it one more time as far as what should we budget for next year?
Well, this is calendar year 18, so we're going to get started on this right away. Now, I'm not sure, do you have anything budgeted for this year?
No.
No.
Okay, so we will not invoice because you don't have the ability to pay in 18. So yes, I mean, I would budget for next year the 81,510 for 18 and the 88,370 for 19.
So 170,000.
Yeah, so probably in January, I'll be sending you a bill for around 81,510.
Okay.
And then the rest of the year, it'll be progress.
All right. I think that's, right now, for us, I think that's the important part.
Right.
Is to get it going and, okay, what's our financial requirement for 19 to get us caught up? And once we get past 19, then it's downhill.
I mean, I would really like for you to budget the 4-year development, the shorter case the money, if you guys really want to expedite this.
I would have to defer to the clerk on that one. I'm not sure about that.
That's
Okay.
the 460.
That'd be the second page.
Oh, I, okay. Oh, the 871.
No. These two here. 94 and 88.
Right, that's for 18 and 19,
Yeah.
but he said.
Oh, it'd be
before.
239.
Okay. Well, from my standpoint, where I'd like to see it at, let's go ahead and pay the 18 and 19, anytime in 19. It doesn't make any difference whether it's January, once it's budgeted. And if they can move that project up, we'll come up with the money.
Okay,
So, and if it happens after I'm going, the next person, I'm sure, would be tickled to death to get that project going
Right.
as quickly as possible.
and usually it's about a year or two into the project before the MPO knows if money's going to be available, so that's probably fine. More of the expediting will be at the back end of it.
Okay.
So,
We
yeah.
can always do additional appropriation or whatever. to
Okay.
Come up with additional money if we need to on it.
All right, any other questions?
I have none.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consulting contract between the City of Beech Grove and GAI Consultants.
I'll make said motion.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Please
So-
approach.
Two copies of the contract.
Also want to recognize that our GAI Castleton office, we grew out of that office, and so we have split to two offices downtown. I know that you have yours.
Thank you.
But we have two open houses, the one in Indianapolis and the one in Fishers, that we would love for your staff to join us. July 31st is the one downtown, and August 2nd is the one in Fishers. So, please join us.
Let us get through this signing, and then we'll talk about the roundabout.
Yep.
Do we keep one, Scott?
Yep, one for you, one for us.
Okay. Brad?
Can I get a copy also? I'll have to get it to NDOT. They like to have it on record. Make a copy. I don't think they need a record.
You want me to scan it in when I get back to the office tomorrow and email it to you?
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry, Dave, just wrote an S in one of your line.
This is ours, Dan.
Thanks, sir.
Here you go, Scott.
Yeah, so I figured since, oh,
Dave didn't sign this one?
Dave, you-
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, next order of business is a update from GAI Consultants on the Churchman Roundabout. Scott?
so we're getting into the real fun part of the project where we actually start approaching property owners and having public meetings on this. We're at 60% complete on the design. We've got our land acquisition specialists engaged, and actually this week, they're going to be sending out letters to the 6 affected property owners on this project to request time to come in and visit with them and start the appraising process on their properties. We expect all the appraisals and the appraisal reviews to be complete by October 1st. And then at that time, as all 6 will be done, they'll be staggered out, but at least by October 1st, there'll be time where we can start making offers to purchase the land. And we expect to have all those secured by the end of the year. Obviously, we'll be working close with the city and Brad add on that. On the environmental side, public meeting side, we've submitted the environmental document to NDOT. We've gotten some comments. We're turning those back into NDOT. We expect to have the okay to advertise for a public hearing in the next couple weeks. That has to be advertised twice in the paper. So we expect to actually hold a public hearing around mid-August. And this project is still on schedule for July of next year letting, where it could be probably started around Labor Day and built by the end of the year.
Is the advertising for the public hearing, is that something that you folks would do?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Floor is open for any questions or comments, board members.
I have none.
I have none.
We have, the clerk budgeted this year. We're all caught up, and in that budget is for all of your expenses. So there shouldn't be anything left for this project with the exception of our payment to NDOT and the cost of inspection. So is that right?
The only thing that may still trickle into next year would be the actual physically writing a check to a property owner.
But it's budgeted for this year. So what I'm telling the public
Okay.
is, we don't have any, the clerk has properly budgeted this project, and then all we're waiting on now from you folks is to tell us what it's gonna cost us for construction and inspection.
Yeah, that'll happen about 4 months prior to letting, so that's March. We'll have all that. And we can obviously estimate it, so you guys can budget for that next year.
And even if we estimate it high.
Right.
I would rather be high than.
Right.
I think Dan budgeted 360,000. Brad, you remember?
Yeah, that sounds right.
That figure's left alone, that will cover our 20% plus construction. So, I don't know if you could get those figures to us as soon as possible, for our budgeting purposes, we would really appreciate it.
Sure.
So, July letting by NDOT, and then, construction by,
It typically takes about 6 weeks. I don't know, Brad, if that's what you've seen, to get a notice to proceed to a contractor.
Yeah.
That's why I said Labor Day. It's actually, I think it's July 10th letting, so maybe a little sooner than Labor Day.
right around the corner. Much needed project.
Yep. And love to have a groundbreaking out there and celebrate that this time next year.
There's nothing to approve, this is just an update, so do you have any
Yep.
questions?
I don't.
All right, Scott, thank you.
you.
Marcia, thank you very much for coming up tonight. Hey, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next up is permission to host the annual Beautify Beech Grove Family Walk. Liz, did you want to, your name's on this, do you want to talk about it?
It'll be the sixth annual Beautify Beech Grove Walk, Saturday, September the 22nd. We start at the Sarah Bolton Park. All the volunteers meet there about 0800. The walk-off, the step-off is about 0900. I've already talked to the chief of police about the route. We thought that this year we would, since we're focusing on our downtown business district, we're going to focus on the improvements of our downtown business district. So we will walk up Main Street and then go down to where the blue caboose, that's like Second, and then go across the street and come back. So we really are wanting to promote this as a family event. We're working more on trying to get some door prizes. I've got some really great ideas from door prizes, but Jim Matus from Mad Dog Matus works at the Colts. He's promised me something from the Colts. I've already got a couple of donations for things, so if we can promote this as a family fun day with music and some other things. So, but we just need permission for the walk. So
Any
that's what we're here
questions
today.
from board members?
There's a question for police and fire. Do you have any concerns?
Okay, I'll ask Dan, the clerk, to read the letter into the record, please.
Dear Board, the 6th Annual Beautify Beach Girls Family Walk is scheduled this year for September 22nd, 2018. The meeting point to start the walk will be in the Sarah T. Bolton Park, and we have notified the park of our intent to utilize the park as a starting point. We are asking permission to utilize city streets during this walk. As always, we will get with the police and fire department for approval of our walk route. We will provide a certificate of insurance to the city prior to the walk. If you have any questions, please let me know. Sincerely, Liz Lamping.
Any further questions or comments?
I'm none.
If not, I ask for motion to approve the event, provided the public safety is okay with it and certificate of insurance is on file.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye and the motion carries.
Thank you, thank you. There's 2 pennies up here. Am I supposed to leave a tip? Maybe that's Brad's
That's
version.
Dennis and I's pay.
Next order of business is just a disclosure statement. Recently, Board, Eagle Valley Incorporated was awarded a contract by the city to conduct some stormwater drainage improvements on Killian Drive. As part of the improvement project, the sidewalk approach and curb was replaced in front of 1412 Killian Drive. The resident at 1412 Killian Drive had Eagle Valley Incorporated replace part of her driveway while they were conducting the stormwater drainage project. I want to publicly disclose that the city did not authorize the driveway work to be done, and the city did not pay for this work to be done. This notice is just for public inspection. So I just wanted to pass that on, in case someone questioned it. On to the next order of business, request for approval, Vacation Bible School. Each year, I don't know, for the last 4 or 5 years, Villa Baptist has used the front yard at DPW for Vacation Bible School, July the 23rd through the 27th. They would like to do that again, and Brad, do you have any issue with it? And I don't remember, did we require them to provide insurance?
Yes, in case someone gets hurt on the property.
Okay. Do you remember this, we've done this 3 or 4 times at least? You have any questions or comments?
I do not.
Dave, anything?
No.
If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the request to have Bible school in the front yard of the Public Works Department from July 23rd to 27th, from 3:30 to 5 p.m., provided the organization provide proof of insurance with the city of Beech Grove as additionally insured.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye and the motion carries. Next order of business is road closure, Walk to Remember. I'll defer to the clerk to read it into the record, please.
Dear Board, the Franciscan Health Indianapolis and Mooresville Pregnancy Loss Program, Memories to Hold, plans to sponsor the 33rd Annual Walk to Remember on Saturday, October the 13th, 2018 at 11 a.m. The purpose of this event is to provide an opportunity for bereaved parents, their families, friends, friends, neighbors, and caregivers to remember babies that have died through miscarriage, stillbirth, and newborn death. The city of Beech Grove has supported this event and demonstrated great compassion since the initial walk in 1985. We request your permission for a parade permit that would allow approximately 1,300 people to walk from Central Elementary School, head west on Main, and southbound on 15th Street to the park. We would then conclude the walk at the Sarah T. Bolton Park. It is our desire to raise awareness on perennial grief and ensure that sensitive care is given parents that experience a miscarriage, stillbirth, or newborn death. Granting our request for a parade permit would be very helpful in this endeavor. If you have any questions, please contact me, Joni Cutshaw.
Thank you. Floor is open for any questions or comments.
I have none.
I have none.
I don't know about the parade permit. I don't think we've ever done anything like that, have we, Dan?
No, we just asked
Yeah.
them, since they're using the public right-of-ways to, provide us with insurance.
Motion to approve the request from Franciscan Health of Indianapolis and Mooresville for a walk on October 13th, 2018.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Board, I also want to go ahead and do a motion that will allow them to close 10th Street and the alley north of Main on 10th, close 10th Street from Main to Albany during this time period because it gets very congested with pedestrian traffic. So I'll ask for a motion to allow them to close that portion of the roadway.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Thank you very much. Brad, surplus equipment?
Good evening, Board. The Department of Public Works would like to surplus the following items for the upcoming auction on Saturday, July 21st. One Scotch-Lite heat lamp applicator, which is our sign marking machine. Mayor's probably seen it. It's in the back room, and it's a ginormous machine that basically is obsolete now. They don't make the letters that this sign even uses. Serial number was 1978, and I'm assuming that's probably the year it was manufactured. The item's no longer at service at DPW. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. And as I mentioned, you can't even purchase the items really anymore, the letters and the blanks. So now we buy, it's basically like the letters are now self-adhesive, so you don't need the heat. And this thing just takes up a ton of room, so we'd like to get rid of it.
Questions from board members?
I'm done.
Now I'll ask for a motion to approve the Public Works Director's request to surplus a Scotch-Lite heat lamp.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. Going to talk briefly about the auction?
Yeah, it's this, July 21st, so that is this Saturday. About 10:30 a.m. is when they expect to kick it off. Mike Heimel will be running the auction, and I believe the police have 6 cars. Does that sound right? 3? More? 9? Usually groups of 3. 8, okay. 8 cars. I know the fire department brought a trailer over. We have our 2000 trash truck is a Sterling. That's in there. So there's a number of things. And then miscellaneous things from the senior center. There's a freezer, and there's some workout equipment from the community center. So I would think it's probably pretty well attended. A good variety of items to draw a big variety of people in. So I think Ray's has bought the last couple trash trucks we've auctioned off, so I expect they'll be there.
All right, Brad, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a request to surplus equipment, senior center. And there's 2 of them, Dan, so
Right.
we'll do them individually.
Okay. We would like to add our true stand-up deep freezer to surplus due to the fact that compressor is going out To have it replaced with parts and labor would be just as expensive or possibly more expensive than purchasing a new one.
Motion to surplus. I suspect these will be in the auction.
Yes, that's the reason why we hurried up, got these done.
Any questions or comments? Motion to allow the senior director to surplus a deep freezer.
Make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I also vote aye, and the motion carries. And then
The other one is, we would like to add our Hitachi floor model TV to surplus due to the fact the speakers are going out. We were donated a new one.
motion to allow the director to surplus the floor model TV.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries.
I'd like to make a comment on this. On this freezer, Stephanie came down, and so we hurriedly and got this done so we could have it for the auction. But my point being is, I had budgeted for them to buy a new refrigerator. They can limp with the refrigerator until after the first of the year. The freezer that they need is cheaper than what the refrigerator is, so the money's already budgeted. So next year I'll just keep the refrigerator in there, but that's just an update, so how we try to work to make everything work out, so.
Thank you, Dan.
And we have one more item that is not on the agenda. It's a block party request, and I'll defer to the clerk to read the letter into the record, please.
Dear Board of Works members, respectfully, I request a permit for a block party on August 25th, 2018, between the hours of 2 and 7 p.m. Specifically, the request is for the alley in the 100 block south between 12th and 13th Streets from Parkway to Alton. This is our 15th year, and my neighbors and I desire to fellowship and have a nice summer cookout. Thank you for your consideration, Chris Duffer.
Comments or questions from board members?
I have none.
Dave, anything? If not, I ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye, and the motion carries. That concludes new business. Comments from board members?
I do have a comment, Dennis. Just want to say thank you for the shred it day and the appliance drop-off on Saturday. I was there myself, dropped off a few things. It looked like it went well, so it's a nice benefit service for the city. So thank you.
You are welcome. Dave, any
Yeah,
comments?
same thing for me. I hurt my back lifting that TV I've got for 25 years and went to the doctor today on it, but other than that, good job.
No other comments? Ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:55 PM. We will convene the Common Council meeting this evening in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the third and final meeting tonight. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove. And at this time, we will convene our Common Council for a special meeting on July 16th, 2018. And at this time, I will do a roll call, and I will ask each participant to introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Buddy Templin, Councilman at Large.
Jim Brooks, Council at Large.
Dave Harrison, Councilman, District 5.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Peter Mascari, Council District 2.
Elizabeth Lamping, Council District 1.
Chris Duffer, Council District 3.
Kevin Day, District 4.
Thank you, council. Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and council, thanks for coming to the special meeting tonight. Dan and I were talking this morning. Over the next couple months, you'll be doing some heavy lifting because we have three very important items that you'll have to look at. One is the housing code that I'm going to talk about tonight to you. Number two is obviously the 2019 budget. And then three is we are going to have to look into adjusting our sanitary sewer rates. And it's a very unpopular topic, but we will meet all of these head-on and do what's right for the city. But tonight, I want to talk to you about introducing a new housing code. The current rental code, which you have been given a copy in your packet, Chapter 155, Housing Code Rental Dwelling. It was passed by the Common Council in 1996, but to my knowledge, has never been enforced. And it's 22 years old. I haven't enforced it as part of the Code of Ordinances since I've been mayor. And the reason that I will not enforce it is because this ordinance calls for our local government to come into your home for the purpose of an inspection. And I vehemently disagree with that. So therefore, I haven't asked our compliance people to do any type of inspection like that. As a matter of fact, when we started up the compliance, it was made perfectly clear that they are not to do any inspections on private property. All of their inspections are to be done in plain view, which is either on a street, sidewalk, alley, unless they are invited onto the property by the property owner. So what I want to do tonight, does anybody have any questions about any of this so far? Please speak up if you do.
Well, I had a couple questions.
We're going to go through the whole ordinance. No vote tonight. We're just going to talk about it and get your input, and then we'll formulate that, and then I'll introduce it on first reading at the next meeting.
Okay. You're just gonna do it page by page?
Page by page.
Okay.
Now, how we come across this ordinance and how it was written is, what are we currently doing right now as a city and as a compliance department? When you go out on an inspection, on a complaint, write down what you are looking for. And in your packet, there should be a compliance division residential property observation list. Now, the key to this, council, is it doesn't matter whether it is a rental property or if it's owner occupied. The rules are the same. This is what they're looking for. They're looking for this from either the street, sidewalk, or alley. And if they see this, then you're liable to receive a letter. What we want to do is we want to identify these rental properties. Where are they? I can already tell you that 45.9% of the single-family dwelling houses in the city of Beech Grove are rental properties. That's a high number. So what I want to do is, I want to dwelling houses in the city of Beech Grove are rental properties. That's a high number. So what I want to do is I want to target the property owner who doesn't live here. If you have 45.9% rental properties, then I don't know what the figure is, but most would not live here more than a year. The higher the rental property, the more transient the community becomes. And that's where we get into trouble. People are living here that are not vested in this city. Does that make sense? So we want to look at that. So if you would pull out the draft ordinance, and remember, this is just a draft. This is a starting point. But I think this is an important enough topic that we have to talk about it. We have now, I can go ahead and tell you that we have property owners who live in homes in Beech Grove. They don't keep their homes up either. So it's not all rentals, but I'm focusing on leased properties. And a disclaimer, whereas the city of Beech Grove established a rental code ordinance in '96 that is too intrusive and therefore not enforceable, and the city has established a Department of Clients that issues citations and tickets through the city court. Common Council originally passed an ordinance in '94 concerning nuisances, and the city desires all property owners to maintain their respective property. And what I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to delete the current ordinance, Chapter 155, in its entirety, and replace it with what we're about to go through. And then we have general provisions, the sections which are self-explanatory. The page 2, the legislative purpose, section 155.001. It is hereby declared that there exists within the city of Beech Grove rental housing units which by reason of their operation, use, or occupancy could affect the public health, safety, and general welfare of the city. B, it is further declared that the purpose of this ordinance codified is, this chapter is to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of the city of Beech Grove by requiring the licensing of all single-family dwelling rental housing units, double-family dwelling rental housing units, certain apartment units, and sleeping rooms which are in the city of Beech Grove. That's the purpose of this ordinance. And then we go into definitions.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And I don't own any property but my own, but if I were some of these owners and you have to find certain apartment How do we know which ones?
I'll go through that later on in the ordinance.
Okay, it defines them there? All right. I didn't see that when I read through it.
I know in both the old and the new, there's a licensing, landlord license required. Are there any that are licensed now? Someone owns a double or a.
To my knowledge, no. No.
Mayor, before you continue on, I wanted, we're going through this evolution of every once in a while, we want to do more with Beech Grove, more with Main Street, and that's fine. Those are good things, depending on what they are sometimes. But my point was growing up in this community, believe it or not, and I won't try to linger on, but I think what is here is kind of important, of what you're attempting to do and so forth. And part of that is that when I grew up, Beech Grove didn't have a whole lot of fancy stuff, but you couldn't get anybody to leave. It was ownership. My father kidded, I was 6 years old or 7 at the time, and my sister's 10 years older and I am 14. And of course, his family, both my grandparents lived in Beech Grove. Never, other than coming from Illinois, this is where they lived at. And the point was he was going to buy a new home in Southport, and we about died. And I remember him telling my mom that, and my brother reiterated this the other day, was the new home he was going to build, he could have got more out of his old home on Ninth Street. That's how the values of property were in Beech Grove, and you know that as well growing up here. Ingle Harris said that he had to beg, borrow, and plead and put a little bit of information underneath his friends to get a home in Beech Grove. There was none available. And it's changed a lot, but I think people forget what makes Beech Grove the best is really the people. These are fine things if you got something great on Main Street or you got a water park or whatever, but that's not what kept. We had 2 pool halls, the Olympia Club, and pool halls sound offensive, but they were in this town, and it was because it was just Beech Grove. So I could go on and on with that, I know, but I just wanted to say that home ownership was what made Beech Grove strong. And of course, it's independence, it tops it all. The ability to have ownership in your own community like Beech Grove is. So I just kind of wanted to make that statement. But why with it, when you did read over one thing that was brought up to me by a person who does own some homes in Beech Grove, he also lives here. I don't know how that's treated as we move on. I mean, violation of an ordinance is a violation of an ordinance. It doesn't really matter. But that is one part I'd like to throw out there. There are people who live here that might actually own a couple homes as well. And usually they're the ones that keep care of them, so it doesn't matter. If I made any sense, I hope so. If I didn't, I'm done.
Thank you.
For a moment, at least.
Okay, page 3 is a continuance of definitions.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
At the bottom of page 2, and I think it answers it over the next page, when it talks about Beech Grove, the Code of Ordinances and the Health and Hospital Corporation Code, so is that the Health Department?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a question.
Sure.
One on page 3, Dennis. Near the bottom where it says registered agent means an agent of the owner or landlord who has been designated as the registered agent. I don't quite understand what that
Yeah, I
means.
wasn't sure.
I think it needs a,
Somebody who represents the owner, maybe?
could we change it? I mean,
Sure.
when you're defining something and you've got the name in the definition, that's,
Yeah, we could strike it, I mean,
I don't want to strike it, I just
Yeah.
want to make it more clear.
yeah.
Can we, however you can say it, but designated as whatever, but as the registered agent that's what
Well-
we're trying to define.
Chris, sometimes, I know we deal a lot in the insurance industry with somebody that lives in California and has rentals, and they go through these property management companies, and they actually manage that property, and we have to go through them for anything. So I don't know if this would fall under that or not.
So
It might not hurt to specify, those things.
And the property management company will tell us they're gonna fix the window, or they're gonna fix the roof. I mean,
So it's
so, and they represent, they have a contract with the owner that they can do these things. So something along that line may not be bad unless you specify, like Buddy said.
how about, means an agent of the owner or landlord who has been designated as their official representative or something? That would-
as their representative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. And then it goes into page 4. And the first part is some more definitions. And then you have the intent, which is this chapter shall be construed and applied to promote its underlying purpose, which is to encourage the maintenance and improvement of the quality of housing in the city of Beech Grove. Then it goes into general rules for residential properties. And I think, Chris, this is where this might help you, I'm not sure.
Okay.
A, no person shall occupy or maintain a single-family dwelling rental unit, a double-family dwelling rental unit, or any residential property converted into apartments, sleeping rooms, or certain apartment units within the city of Beech Grove unless in accordance with this chapter. That's A. B, this chapter applies to certain apartments, single and/or double-family dwelling rental units, sleeping rooms, homes converted into apartments prior to 1969 and after 1969 with approval of the local Board of Zoning Appeals in the city of Beech Grove, and does not apply to the following conditions listed below unless the conditions are created to avoid the application of this chapter. Here's the next, through here,
Mayor, do we know why they put in 69? I mean,
yeah,
Just
very good, that's a
some
very
home.
good question. I was going to get to that.
okay.
Unigov came about in 1969. So anything that was done before 69, 69 or before is automatically grandfathered in.
That's coming up on the next page, buddy.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Defined.
yeah,
Guess I should have read it.
no problem. That's a good question, no problem. 1, occupancy by the purchaser of a dwelling unit under a contract or sale. 2, transient occupancy in a motel or other similar lodging establishment. 3, apartment complex with more than 2 separate buildings that have an established maintenance person on the property. I want to repeat that, apartment complex with more than 2 separate buildings that have an established maintenance person on the property. I want to stop there. Mark, could you come up? When compliance, if you watch what compliance does, how much time are they spending in apartments or, you know, versus rental units, single and double family dwellings? Are they responsive to calls from the city? Do they have maintenance people who are timely about fixing problems when tenants complain? So I asked Mark about how much time do you spend in apartments, and do we really ever get complaints about apartments?
We've very little time spent with the apartments at all. I mean, since I've been working for a couple of years, we may have gotten 1 call about something in an apartment complex. And so really, we don't go into that. We'll go through and check them real quick, but I mean, they've got maintenance. They keep the grass taken care of. They normally keep the trash cleaned up. Everything that we're looking for is always done anyway because we have people there on site. So those places, we really don't spend any time at all.
How about these units down here on Albany? These that seem like they're got doors open and their windows busted, you know,
Ninth,
is that night?
at
Yeah.
Ninth and Albany.
Yeah,
We really don't get too many complaints. I've only had one complaint about that location.
okay,
And that was right after they had a fire. A couple years later, the guy called about that. Other than that, we don't get any complaints about that place.
okay. It just visually looks,
Just visually look at
Well, it's
it.
got wires on the outside and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah. So it would
Because-
take, it would take a tenant complaining about it.
Right, I mean, even the fire inspector has no authority inside apartment units.
Yeah,
The only thing they can go in and look at is the common hallway
okay,
in apartments. So even going inside, the fire inspector can't go in and we can't go into each individual unit. All we can do is look at the hallways if we're inside. But our main concern for compliance is outside. Unless we get a complaint, then we'll go in. I have gone in a couple times to talk to individual residents that had questions, but it was more of, they were disgruntled, it really wasn't a problem, they were just trying to find a way to get out of their lease.
okay.
It really wasn't an issue.
The apartments on Ninth Street that Counselor Lamping was talking about, those are two. There's one, and then there's two separate. Those would fall under this criteria where it's less than, or more than two, so these would have to be licensed
Okay, okay,
by the city.
okay.
So, same way with Fifth and Albany.
Okay, yeah,
Willow Glen would not. Beech Grove Village would not. Braxton on Thompson would not. And that's because they have established programs to deal with these issues.
So, in your experience, has there been documentation for this prior to 1969 ruling? So, for instance, I mean, I know of several apartment, AKA garages, around this area that are just every 3 months it's a different, it's a revolving door characters. How do the owners of those properties prove that that was converted prior to
Well,
1969?
I think they're gonna have to go through zoning. Dan's
Well,
that
and
accurate?
zoning would have a record of that when the last time it was, they did
Converted.
I think it
a
does.
zoning action on
Okay,
it.
it's probably in there.
Yeah, I think it does,
Might be getting ahead of myself.
but that's fine, yeah, I think it, I think so.
But if there was never a variance on that, they don't have a leg to stand on.
Number 4, condominiums, owner occupied, over 55 residential communities or assisted living residences. And then 5 would be single-family dwellings where there is no fee for occupancy.
Excuse me, on number 5, single-family dwelling, that the landlord does not have to pay a fee for,
No, if they let somebody live there, no charge.
they let somebody live there.
For instance, you're talking about like that one company they're maintaining the house on the property and they're letting their maintenance guy live there?
Could be. Or if somebody's, you just live in my house, and there's no fee charged. They're not making a profit from
They're
it.
not collecting rent off the property.
Or if somebody leaves like sometimes we have residents that go to Florida in the winter time, and they have somebody just, I don't know if it would be family or
I'd
relationship.
like to find one of these guys.
Occupies.
On to page 5, 155.005, inspections. And this is what we are doing right now. The Department of Compliance shall, as often as necessary, conduct a plain view inspection of a owner-occupied dwelling or a single-family dwelling rental unit, a double-family dwelling rental unit, certain apartments, or a structure housing a sleeping room. 1, a plain view inspection constitutes an inspection from a local road or street, sidewalk, alley, or having been invited to visually inspect a residential property by a neighbor on their property. 2, the Department of Compliance shall not make an inspection on or inside of a single-family dwelling rental unit, a double-family dwelling rental unit, sleeping room, or apartment unless invited on the property or in the structure by the occupant of the structure and the legal owner of the property. That holds true for owner-occupied properties as well.
Does this say it has to be both? Is that what that's?
That's just a layer of protection.
So it means if somebody's renting a home and they want compliance to come in and check something out, unless the property owner agrees with it, he can't do anything.
Yeah, that was kind of my question.
Yeah.
So,
Number 3, the Department of Compliance shall document each visit with a report to verify any violation or issue that they have witnessed and report such findings to the owner of the property under Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. 4, upon finding violations of Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove, Department of Compliance officers shall follow the provisions of Chapter 98, which is the nuisance code, and notify the listed property owner of such violations and give the listed owner time to take corrective action. 5, further noncompliance on a follow-up visit as a result of a plain view inspection shall result in further notification of such violations to the listed property owners under the provisions of Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. 6, should another follow-up visit be needed and a plain view inspection take place without an improvement evident, such report of findings and a declaration of a public nuisance may be made to the registered owner of the property by the authority having jurisdiction, which is the City of Beech Grove. Should a nuisance declaration be made, the authority having jurisdiction shall follow the provisions set forth in Chapter 98 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. And that's exactly, council, that's exactly what we do today. And then 7, the Marion County Health Department has jurisdiction when it comes to conducting indoor inspections.
So, this might be time to talk about a complaint that I've been hearing about on 3rd and Alton about a semi-truck cab being parked between two structures. And there's been a neighbor complaining about that being there, and it being allowed. It is allowed, I believe, by our city ordinance, but is this something that the council could entertain as far as adding something like semi-trucks to this list to our ordinance? Is that something we should talk about entertaining now?
No,
No.
no. Anybody who makes an inspection or a complaint like that, we'll look at it. But at the end of the day, that complainant is only going to have 2 options. Because as the council, the legislative body has passed an ordinance recently that allows that. So one of 2 things has to happen. Number 1, he could petition, or he or she could petition the council to change the rules. Or number 2, he can call code enforcement downtown.
Okay.
Those are the 2 options that he
So that
has.
would not be addressed with.
Not in this ordinance.
Dealing with, okay. I wanted to make sure, because if this was an opportunity for the council to discuss it, just, I would take that voice for that citizen.
Couple of questions.
Sure.
Sorry, Chris, did you go?
No.
Okay. Number 4, when we notify the owner, are we also notifying the resident or tenant?
Yes.
Okay. So in your experience, just, like right now, when you issue a citation to a rental, like, how much feedback are you getting? I mean, are you seeing action at this point?
If normally, we do, but it takes, what we normally do is we'll go out and see something, and we'll put a letter on the door.
Yeah.
Now, that's only notifying the person at the
Yeah.
house. If it's a rental, the owner doesn't know about it yet.
Okay.
If it's not corrected, then we send it to the owner and to the occupant. So he's got a second one, but the owner's now been notified. And the owner's one that's held responsible for it, not the tenant, if it's a rental. So if I'm renting a house
Yeah.
to you, I'm held responsible. I'm the one that gets the ticket, not you.
So when fines have been issued, so I think we're trying to hold the owners accountable.
Right.
So when fines have been issued in the past, was it typically the resident that paid that fine, or did you forward it on to the owner?
It's the owner.
Did the owner typically pay it?
One way or the other, they pay. Or what has happened is we hand them the citation or mail the citation to them, and they get it cut right then and there.
They remedy the situation.
And they've remedied it, and in talking with the judge and
Okay.
city attorney, we feel like the ticket's gotten the job done.
Yeah.
We can pull the ticket and not make him pay the fine. We got what we wanted. We wanted compliance. That's all we want. But if we get somebody that doesn't want to, and then we go to court, but then we take pictures and we explain our case to the judge, and the judge makes his ruling, and normally it's the fine plus court cost. And we have people who just pay it, or they'll argue, but most of the time they'll pay it if it goes that far.
I can just see the identification, and Dan, you might be able to tell me, how do we identify all the rental properties? I mean, is there something you have to go through with zoning to change? I mean, is it gonna be tax records as far as houses that don't
No,
have
what,
homestead exemption,
Not in our office, that would have to go
We go
through
through
Marion
the sewer
County.
department.
Yeah.
sewer department?
The sewer department tells us who owns the house,
Okay.
and they give us the owner's address. If the owner lives there, then we consider it owner occupied. If the owner lives at a different address, then we consider it a rental property.
So do you have a pretty good, like, right now, you think you
got
have a
pretty
good handle on what's rental and what's not?
gonna
Cause I mean, I just see where could be a whole nother project for you guys,
It could be.
tracking down these owners.
It could be, but I don't think it would be that difficult for us.
Okay.
Well, with the change in ordinance, all homeowners or people that own the property is the ones that receive the sewer bill. So if you live in a rental, you're not gonna get sewer bill, the owner of that property is, if you was a renter.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
So that's how, and that was done through ordinance within the last few years. And I think that's where Mark is pulling
Right.
most of his stuff, because otherwise you'd have to go through the Marion County assessor or treasurer, find out where these things are, because we don't have an accurate list of what is rental and what is not, other than, like he said, the sewer bills.
Now, really though, there's some rental houses out there, you have no idea are rental
Right,
houses.
yeah.
Because there have not been any complaints made against them.
Exactly. Or we haven't had any problems with them. You know, they maintain the property.
Mark, I'd just like to, so the public knows, you don't go out there on the first day and say, this has gotta be done today.
Oh.
They get a,
Get some grace.
an allotted time to
Right.
get each and every thing done. And working with Mark on some of this, he sends them letters, he makes phone calls, he tracks complaints that we receive, and we turn back into him. But it's not like he just goes out there today and says, you gotta do this if it's
Oh, no. The
whatever. yeah.
Ordinance says I have to give them
Yeah.
at least 10 days to comply with what's being written.
Your monthly reports show that most people do comply, though.
Right, most people do comply.
Can we maybe at some point when this goes into effect, maybe separate that monthly report by rental violations versus
Yeah.
homeowner
Oh,
violations?
that's a good idea.
Yeah, we can do
And
that.
I would be, support changing it for rentals. Give them less time. They wanna stay, make money in the city and not live here, then you need to comply earlier.
one of the questions that I frequently, whoever just brought it up about more time on rentals hit it right on the head. I ask Mark every once in a while, how much time are you spending on properties that are rental owner occupied.
And it's more rental properties
Really?
than it is actually.
I think today he told me like, little,
Somewhere between 80 and 90% of the time spent
On
on
rental
rental
property.
properties. But then, you know, I'll go to an owner occupied location and give them a notification that's taken care of right away.
Yeah.
I'm done, I don't have to go back. But if it's a rental, I may have to go back 2 or 3 times, particularly if they don't live here, if they live in California, state of Washington, you know, New York. It takes time for the owner to find out what's going on. It takes time for me to find out where he's at, actually, and then it takes time to get, so the grass, for example, just keeps getting taller and taller and taller.
Do you have repeat offenders then? Do you have a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
the same? Yeah.
And each year, well, this year Ed and I were joking about, well, we'll go back out and we know where to start looking because it's repeat offenders. And it's normally rental property that's a repeat offender. You know, it's a new tenant, they don't know, or, you know, the landlord said, well, I've got a new tenant, I've got time to go without having to worry about it.
Let's go to, on page 5 at the bottom, 155.006. Change of intent is prohibited, and this is very important. 1, under the provisions of UniGov, which was established in 1969, the intent of a single-family dwelling structure beginning in 1969 cannot be changed into a double-family dwelling, there was a typo, sleeping room or multifamily dwelling rental units unless approved by the Department of Metropolitan Development of the City of Indianapolis in conjunction with the City of Beech Grove Board of Zoning Appeals. BZA. On page 6, number 2, any single-family dwelling structure converted into a double-family dwelling rental unit, a sleeping room, or a multifamily dwelling unit prior to 1969 is considered grandfathered for compliance purposes. The property owner may be required to show proof as to when the structure was converted to rental units to the Department of Compliance. 3, any person who desires to change the original intent of a single-family residential structure into a double residential unit for the purpose of renting space, sleeping rooms, or converting the structure into a multifamily apartment unit shall seek approval from the Department of Metropolitan Development for the City of Indianapolis in conjunction with the City of Beech Grove Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA. 4, the intent of any single-family dwelling structure that is found to have been changed into a double-family dwelling, sleeping room, or a multifamily dwelling for rental purposes after 1969 and not approved by the Department of Metropolitan Development through the City of Beech Grove Board of Zoning Appeals is found to be in noncompliance with the Marion County zoning standards is prohibited and will be reported immediately so enforcement can be initiated against the listed owner of the property. That is a very, very important section. Dan alluded to it just a little while ago. We currently have 2 structures in Beech Grove. One is on North 6 where they had the fire. In 1982, that was converted from a double into 5 apartments. That's not permitted, and what's happened now is they had a fire. The DMD, Department of Metropolitan Development downtown, has instructed us, do not issue any permits to work on that structure. They are going to have to get a variance, because that should only be a double.
The past 10, 15 years, would any of you guys know how many times we have accepted or looked over requests to change houses into doubles or houses, I mean, how often are they coming through to do
Well,
that?
I can tell you, I've been on the secretary of the BZA for almost 7 years
Yeah.
now, and I wish Craig was here tonight. But anyway, to my recollection, we have had 0 in 7 years. And I can assure you that there's been houses.
There's another one, at the corner of Fifth and Alton. It's a double that burned. That is, according to the records, that is a single-family dwelling. So that also is going to be cited by DMD for a variance.
Can we do an audit? I mean, I know that would take a lot,
So
but
what we're gonna
they're
have,
30 years
no, what
old.
we're gonna have to do, Vito, and you're spot on, we're gonna have to go through these, see where they're at. And then I think that if we can't, find it officially, we would probably demand that they show proof that it was like that. And I tell you, when you cut a house up, when you change the intent and cut it up into sleeping rooms, you are asking for a problem. And with people and with what happened on Sixth Street, it's just not good. And what does it do to the neighborhood? Does it diminish the value of homes next to it?
So that would be my question then.
Doesn't help.
So when we establish that, do we have the authority to go in and inspect those ones that have been split up for things like,
We don't have the, no way. We have to look at from the street.
oh gosh, but I mean for like fire, I mean for wiring and all that?
We could always issue a ticket and make them prove their case,
Oh, I see, okay,
but
okay.
I don't know about the rest of council members, but I would support a moratorium on switching any single residential structure right now to multifamily structures. We have enough doubles, we have enough apartments. Our apartment, the market, supply and demand are fine. We don't need more apartments, and we don't need more doubles. So I don't know where we would put that, but I think that we need for the next 24 to 36 months to say it's done. We're done making rental
Argument over here.
doubles.
So just let me get it clear. Every one of you maintain your home very good. And if you ever decide you don't want to do that, you're going to move, but you want to keep your property, you can rent it out. You can legally rent it out. You just can't convert it into a double or
Right.
sleeping rooms without a variance from the BZA.
There's a lot of houses here on Main Street that are really nice houses, but you could tell they were cut in half. I mean, those houses would have sold really well if they were doubles.
Well, and not only that, I mean, like Dennis said, if you go through BZA for a variance, I mean, if you wanted to do a bed and breakfast or something like that,
Yeah.
I mean, there's legal ways of
Right,
doing this, rather than just get a hammer out and start tearing down walls.
Wiring,
I would see it being different if it was like a bed and breakfast or
Right.
something like that, but, you know, if you got
we go through the proper steps.
Yeah, go through the proper channel.
somebody just wants to come in from Illinois or wherever it may be and say, hey, you know, we got a 3,600 square foot home here, looks like we could probably do 6 apartments in that thing. No. Put it back on the market and let a person that wants a 3,600 square foot home buy it. I mean, you don't need a bunch of, what do you call it, efficiencies with people who are gonna stay there for 4 months.
I wonder if that happens a lot in like college towns where they go in and just for dorm type purposes.
People changing their garages and, got all-
We have to look at that. I mean, I think it's detrimental to the value of the city. And we fight this all the time and
I'm more
continue to
concerned
fight
about
it.
a wellness and safety thing. I mean, especially if somebody's chopping up a building and there's improper wiring for a fire, look at the neighbor's potential for.
Entrance and exits, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Some of these
Yeah.
places,
Right.
they've only got a front door and a back door, and that's it.
They don't fit. They only
It's a
have back
death
windows.
trap
One
in
exit.
Death
some of
trap, yeah.
these, yeah.
You know, the ones they cut it in half, they'll have one exit out of each apartment.
Right.
I mean, that's,
So let's move on to next one, 155.007, landlord license required. A, an owner of a rental unit property must obtain a landlord license from the city of Beech Grove within 6 months from the approval of this ordinance. Such license shall be issued through the Department of Compliance. Yeah, Chris?
They won't be collecting the money, will they?
No.
Okay.
No, there's one group that collects the money, and that's the clerk's office.
Like to check the mark.
Okay. B, the landlord license shall be valid for 3 years from the date of issuance, and the following license fee shall be charged to the rental property owner. 1, $75 per residential property, $25 a year. And that's just a figure. I started out at $150 for 2 years. Because the only way to get some of these people's attention is to hit them in the wallet. That's it. That's, yeah.
How about the landlord license be valid for 1 year?
It's open to anything.
I think, I agree with you.
I do
Because
too,
after 3
yeah.
years, they kind of forget about what they got
And
hit
what
in the
fee
wallet.
should be charged?
Per
I
year?
think it should be done per unit myself. If you've
I
got
would
4
go
units in that building, charge them,
I would go at least 50 per year.
I agree with Dan, per unit. If you got a
So the
house
double
with 5
would
units
have-
in it,
2 fees?
one for each side. So if it was $50 per year, it'd
making
be
the money
$100
that way,
for the
yeah.
2.
But they'll
Remember, they're, people who rent, a lot of them, they are making a profit from this.
oh, yeah.
But they'll hand they'll hand that off to the person they're renting to. I mean,
But
they're
it
gonna-
may make it a little harder for them to
Yeah.
rent it if they have to raise the prices of it.
Right, I see what you're saying. They might have to.
1 year,
1 year?
They might have to,
and $50
do a
per,
better vetting.
Unit.
Per unit per year?
Per unit per year.
$50 per unit per year?
okay. I'm gonna go to number 2, so we can talk about this too. No fee shall be required for licensing any rental property if the property owner shows proof that he or she has attended the safe rental training program conducted by the Marion County Prosecutor's Office within 2 years from the time of application.
So you just eliminate that. I mean, that's
Well,
my opinion, because you go back to that registered agent definition. It's gonna be some clearinghouse in California that sends some
Well, I
18-year-old
wanted-
intern.
I asked
Won't be
Mark
able
to,
to prove it.
I asked Mark to attend it on our behalf, because we hold these every 3 months out at Hornet Park
Okay.
through the prosecutor's office.
They any good, Mark?
Yeah, yes, it is. They have different speakers come out. They've got a gentleman from the neighborhood, business and neighborhood. It's the old code enforcement for Indianapolis. He comes out and talks to them. There's 3 different gentlemen from the health department that come out and talk. And they explain to the landlords what they need to do to make sure it's a safe place. You know, have the windows accessible. Don't have bushes growing up in front of your windows.
Oh, yeah.
Because that just invites people to come up and look in through the windows, keep the grass cut, and take care of the property. But it also gives the landlord a person to contact.
It makes
Yeah.
them responsible. It makes them.
Right. You learn what's going on.
Do we have any idea how many people really attend these things, or?
There was probably 30 people at the one I
And they were from anywhere in the county then, right?
They were anywhere from the state. There were some
State,
people
okay.
from out of the county that were attending it too. Because they want to have a safe place to rent. And this was telling them.
Do you have Any idea how many people were from Beech Grove?
I think there was 3 or 4 that were there from Beech Grove that I recognized.
Is there any discriminatory clause in here where one gets charged and one doesn't get charged? I mean, and that'd be an answer for Craig, but, you know, that would be my only issue with it, is,
I'm not so sure the charge should, I mean, I think they should want to go for their own benefit. I don't know why, I guess if someone is trying to encourage it, is the only
I
thing.
guess as an
I believe
incentive.
Indianapolis is charging right now for landlords. But I'll find out for sure.
Now, is this saying that once they have attended that Marion County prosecutor, or that safe rental training program, that they're good from then on?
For 2
No,
years.
they would have to go through it. I don't know what the cycle would be yet, but they would have to continue to attend.
Within 2 years, okay, within 2 years.
Well,
It says they have to have completed it within 2 years, but it doesn't
if we're gonna
say.
change valid for 1 year, shouldn't we update to go through the training maybe within 6 months of application?
Does it mean that once they complete the training, like they get reimbursed, or,
I think we should require the training, but still require the fee.
I agree too.
I mean,
Can we require the training?
I don't know.
there's been a lot of training in my professional career that I had to go to just because I had to go to it.
How do we,
It doesn't mean I sat there and listened. I mean, I just got my certificate and walked out the door.
I think it'd be great if everybody that
Owns
did rent
property.
did go to something that
Yeah.
had that, you know.
I agree.
where did
It
we
might
get
help
this
quite a
from?
bit.
How did, where are these, this particular reading of this, where, does this come from, is there an example, is this from another area, or?
No, we developed this after talking to the prosecutor's office.
Okay,
We have a community prosecutor out at the police department.
okay. So this is somewhat patterned after other communities then, or is this all?
I don't know if any other communities do this.
Okay.
I don't know.
I agree with Vito, though, on maybe not relinquishing the charge. Maybe they could get some kind of like a discount off at the donut place or something.
I don't know, I mean, if Dennis has taken his time to put this together, and done, it really appears to be a fairly good job, and they're talking to the prosecutor. I don't think that's a bad way for these
Yeah,
property owners to get out of the fee, and then they've gone through that training. Now, we still have all of the other compliance issues that they still have to comply by. You know, that doesn't relinquish them from that. So I would say I like it the way it is.
It kind of incentivizes them.
Yes.
The only thing I'm really a little confused of is they apply for a license to rent a house, and they go to this thing within 2 years. A lot of things could happen in 2 years.
Absolutely, the renter will be gone.
Yeah.
It should, to
But
me,
we're not,
should
we're
be
not
that.
requiring the renter to do it.
I understand that, but my point is, as soon as the guy gets the property and comes and does the application, he
often?
should have all this.
How often do they do these classes then?
I think they do them 4 times a year.
Okay.
Well, every 6 months wouldn't be out of the,
Yeah, that might be true,
Within
but
6
2
months.
years is, that's a,
Or even 1 year, but, you know, at least give them
2 years.
2 years is an awful long time.
And I think they do the classes in other locations, not just here. So, you contact the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, and they can tell you where you're going. You may have to drive to the other side of the county to get it quicker, if you want it quicker.
Now, is this 2 years, is that from the Marion County Prosecutor's Office? Is that,
That's a figure we came up with.
okay.
But we don't want to make it so hard for them to go to these classes that they'll just skip it and pay. The whole idea is for them to become more aware of, maybe it even helps them learn something about our compliance issues. I mean, we don't want to make it, because they could just skip this altogether and just say, we'll just pay the license. I mean, if you make it
if you had to
too
pick
bad,
one
it
or the
won't-
other, I'd
won't
rather
play
see
its
someone go to the
benefit.
class than the money. I just thinking that the money didn't look like it was that much, but then again, I don't have a rental property either.
I agree with the need to go to class, but I think that the rental issue in Beech Grove is somehow not gonna just be solved by them going to a 45-minute lecture from somebody from Code Enforcement.
Oh, no, it's all day.
or all day, whatever
All
it may
day.
be.
You mean all day,
says
like 8 hours all day?
8 hours all day.
Well, I mean, that's a long one. But I mean, Mark, in your experience with penalties and violations, the violations and penalties tend to come from a local owner, meaning within the greater Indianapolis area, or does that come from your corporations and out of state? There'd be, you know, housing agencies.
I think most of ours are in the county,
Okay,
in Marion County.
then I didn't.
You could strike the whole, you could strike the whole county, the safe rental training program and just go with a flat fee every year.
I think it's.
I think it's
Get 3
important
readings,
they
go
go
through
to
it.
that if they
But I
can
mean, if
find a way to
this-
get in there.
Do it a year.
And one thing that they do learn in the class is how to properly evict
Yeah.
one of their tenants.
There's benefits to
Which
that class.
several people said that was worth the time. So that they know how,
Sure.
they've got a bad renter, how to get them out legally, so that they can't stay longer than what they're supposed to be.
They get a lot of good information, this class,
Yes.
benefit them.
The application, can we word it somehow that once you've been to this class, your next fee will be waived, since it's on a yearly basis?
Sure, you guys can,
That's,
you can direct it however you want.
I mean, because since you're going down to a 1 year, if they come in and do the application, the following, after they've gone through the class, the next year, they have no fees.
well, you know, you guys, it's just like with us.
Just keep
you
up
guys
with
know,
it,
I
that's
mean,
the main thing.
Right, that's
like with
the main-
CPR or whatever thing, I mean, you know, I mean, I think there are guidelines as far as benefit versus not beneficial for some of these trainings. I mean, if you're going to, you want to maximize the benefit, and if it's such a good program, you want people to take advantage of this for good reasons. So, I mean, and then if you make it too tough, like I said, they're just gonna say, well, we're not gonna go to that class, we'll just pay. So, I mean, if they're really getting a lot out of these classes for evictions and everything else, let's try to maximize the benefit of these classes.
I'll tell you what, though, if I had to go to that class, I'd give you $50 rather than spend 8 hours on the other day doing that.
I'm saying, why don't we make them give us $50 and go to the class?
Well,
I mean, it's. I
What's
think
the
that-
penalty if they don't go? And I'm with you, I think this class could be vital to really helping the
I
community
think
out.
it addresses two of the issues we're looking at here to go with this rental issue. Two of them that I will address is the safety and the code compliance. Now, there's another one we're talking about is blighted areas, and this is, the house just looks terrible. And I don't know if that class is going to address that, but it's about having an owner that's saying, all right, they're taking me, making me accountable for this. Maybe I should make it look a little nicer. And, you know, rather than pocketing that insurance money I get wherever hailstorm comes through and just put it in my pocket, or I could fix the house up. Because I guarantee there's been a lot of roofing and siding claims that what do you call it, the initial check just went right in that guy's pocket.
You would think most people renting houses would consider the equity part of it down the road when they want to get rid of the home or pass it on, but apparently many of them don't, so.
The best thing that happened to Beech Grove, to look at Beech Grove, was a hailstorm. And I've heard a lot of people say that. But it seemed that it only affected people that own their houses.
Does this
Not
class tell you how to put in a proper political yard sign in your front yard?
No,
Okay.
no.
All right.
But it does tell you how to get rid of, who to contact if your tenant leaves you bed bugs in the house.
Oh, I mean, I don't
You
know.
know,
But
and-
you can't get landlords from, and I
From
know we got
California.
some from California, we got some from Colorado.
Right.
'Cause I got them insured. And you ain't gonna get them to go to a class like this, they care less.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think the fee, the $50 fee is high enough.
Come up with a
Okay.
figure. You know, we started out $150, you know. I said,
Well, just going over this, I never knew about this safe rental training program, so that's really interesting information right there, so.
We establish a fee, it's different for out-of-state owners versus local owners.
I don't know if you can discriminate.
I know Craig would have to see, you know, but
I think
we
Craig
got
would
shot
probably
down
tell me,
on something
don't do that.
On that.
I think that we're just going through this, we're not
Yeah.
voting on anything, we're just going, okay.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, page 7,
We're gonna make it.
it ends up on D, at the expiration of the landlord lease or license, the property owner may renew the landlord license by submitting another landlord license application along with the landlord application fee. And the renewal of the license shall not be refused without cause on payment of the landlord fee. And then E, failure to license a rental unit, just, we'll have to look under the penalty there. 155,008, grounds for denial of landlord license application. Board of Public Works and Safety may deny any landlord license application if the board determines that any of the following events have occurred or conditions exist. And when the board hears it, it would have to come from the Department of Compliance would have to petition the Board of Public Works and Safety. A, the owner has failed to provide all the information requested on the landlord license application pursuant to any subsection. B, the owner has failed to pay all the required fees and penalties pursuant to this chapter. C, if the owner is a non-natural person, the applicant is not organized under the laws of the state, controlled by the laws of the state, or is it not authorized and qualified to engage in business in the state.
What is a non-natural?
Yeah.
I'd have to ask Craig. It's something he threw up at me. I don't know.
So a citizenship, or,
I'll ask Craig.
okay.
Gotta beat Rover.
Yeah, there you go.
I would,
No, I don't think that's it.
What'd you say, Jimmy?
May not be I'm not sure.
Yeah.
by laws of the state.
The D, the owner has obtained the landlord license through fraud, collusion, or illegally. E, the owner or any partner or corporate officer has been convicted of a felony in connection with maintaining, operating, or conducting a business or commercial activity. F, the application or any previous application for a landlord license filed by an owner contains any material omissions and/or materially false or misleading information. G, any rental unit and/or premises of the owner are conducted or maintained in such a manner as to create a nuisance or treat to the public, or threat to the public health or general welfare. H, the owner has been determined to be aiding, abetting, encouraging, permitting, harboring, or engaging in criminal activities in any of his rental units or on any of the owner's rental unit premises. Or I, the owner or any partner or corporate officer of the owner or the manager of a premises sought to be operated under the landlord license has failed to comply in any material respect with any city ordinance and the Marion County Health and Hospital Code. J, if the Department of Compliance believes there is reasonable cause to deny a landlord license application, the Department of Compliance shall petition the Board of Public Works and Safety for denial of a landlord license. If the Board of Public Works and Safety denies the application, then the Board of Works and Public Safety shall instruct the clerk treasurer to return the landlord license fee to the, if paid, to the owner whose application was denied. The owner may appeal the denial of the license application to the Board of Public Works and Safety.
On that part, Dennis, I would like to maybe say that they don't pay the fee till they're approved, and then that way we don't have to issue any refunds.
Okay?
And if they are denied, what is their recourse? I mean, they own this property now, they cannot rent it out?
I don't know. That's a legal question. This section of what I just read came from the town of Speedway. This is what they do. And they funnel them through the court, so I don't know. I'll have to talk to Craig about it when he gets
Wouldn't they
back.
have to have a reason why they were denied? And then they could fight that in court or correct whatever problem it was that
Go to the Supreme Court.
Judge Judy?
All of these, the next sections, all of these are in the nuisance statutes, except 155.014. And that's the penalty. Failure to license a rental property in the city of Beech Grove shall result in a fine of $50 per day that the Department of Compliance has office hours, Monday through Friday. And then what we'll have to do once, if you pass this, then we will have to legally advertise this.
Why did we define it, the penalty, as for when the Department of Compliance has office hours as opposed to each day?
Well, they're not in Saturday or Sunday
Or holidays.
or holiday.
Well, they're not gonna be able to get a license approved on Saturday or Sunday anyways, so I'm saying just fine them. I'm not trying to play a hard nose, but this is one of the biggest reasons I try to get on this city council, is because of this issue.
We could change it to per day.
I don't,
And then also, do we need to bulk up the application to maybe account for some of these grounds for denial? I mean, if we have, for instance, in item E, if we have a felon trying to get approval to be a landlord, I mean, do we possibly run criminal background checks on the landlord application?
Could.
Yeah, good point.
Run credit checks. I mean, I think there's items that we could, and I'm sure Mark has landlords in mind right now that he probably could deny this landlord permit to. So, do we deny it initially? I mean, that, for me, that could maybe solve some of the problems right there. Come in and get your permit, and we say, no, you're not doing it anymore. You're done doing business as a landlord in Beech Grove. We've had enough problems with you.
I think though that would be contingent, and I don't disagree with that, but that would be contingent on maybe defining a certain number of compliance issues or things that they have been cited for.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if there's consistent, there's 20 drug runs to that house already, and there's been 2 overdoses, I think that would be, grounds for that denial. I mean, it just.
Can we skip page 9, Dennis?
Did we?
Can we?
What is it?
It's blank.
Blank. So are we
It's
going to
blank.
talk, are we
It's a
gonna,
blank page.
on page 6,
Took
are
one of
we
my
gonna talk
lines
about
away from me.
the,
Nobody got it.
we did, sorry.
I'm
So
still
we gonna
laughing
talk about the
through this.
fee on page 6? $75 per, is that what we were talking about, the $75 per residential property? Did we decide we're gonna change that amount?
Somebody thought it was good that it would be if it's a double, it'd be per side of the double.
I thought we
And
were
per
talking-
unit, which is, I'll put it in there.
I think we need to charge the fee on each revenue stream they have.
Yeah.
Five units.
Yeah, you just have to tell me
It's not
what,
good tonight or something?
No, it's
you
not
just have to
that.
tell
Like
me
he's
what the
going-
cost is,
the
so
rental
I can plug it
problem,
in.
He said it's 50% of the houses in Beech Grove are
No, I'm
rentals.
just,
Oh, no, I know, but.
I think it's one of the bigger problems with the community, and I'm not against rental people in
so we changed-
particular, but
we changed B to 1 year. So we changed B, the license shall be valid for 1 year, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So are we gonna change, is that what we were talking about earlier, on 175, is that what we were talking about?
It's up to the council.
We wanna increase that,
Yeah, I would increase it.
$75 per residential property, or you wanna go,
The landlord license shall be valid for 1 year from date of issuance, and the following fee shall be charged to the rental property owner.
owner.
You want to go with $75 per residential unit per
Why
year?
not?
How do you wanna handle a landlord that has 10 different properties?
each
You're gonna
unit.
pay.
If he owns, say he owns 10 doubles,
He must
that's
be
gonna be
doing
20
well.
fees.
I know a gentleman owns 10 different houses here in town. Single family, but he's renting them out. Would you charge him for?
Every
Always-
property.
All he's gotta do is come up here and cry to the council, we'll give him a break.
But doesn't he have
That's
to
only
get
if
every
he's
one of
putting a
those
roof on.
licensed?
Oh,
He has to
roof.
get every property license.
That's what I'm thinking.
If
Every
he has to
unit
get,
should be licensed.
yeah, if he has to get every property license, he should have to have
Yeah.
a fee, right?
Right, well, I mean, each one is generating its own business,
Yeah.
it should make a difference, yeah.
Well, here's another question I have, because now, because I'm thinking on the other side of this, are we walking a fine line where we start making where there's vacant properties because they can't rent them? So, so the end goal of this is, do we want to make our rental properties look nicer? Or do we want to drive the price of our fees so much that they're forced to sell the property?
Yeah, they're
Because
going to
there-
pass
there's-
this fee on.
That's right.
Yeah,
They're
but
gonna-
the
But,
fee's
but
gonna
you,
go.
you guys
Absorb
are,
the
you're
fee.
talking about dividing $100 into 12 months, too.
Well, they'll make the.
And number
whoever they're-
two,
The type of people that are renting right now, $50.
well, but number
$50
two,
is a
like
lot.
Dan had thrown, and everybody seemed to agree was also talking about that if they go through this class, which maybe will help the property look better, that's important, that the following years, these fees can be free.
I think we're overlooking something too.
What's up?
The rent to buy.
That's true.
Is that a rental or is that,
No, it's a rental.
it's still classified rental? Okay.
Will they buy it?
I don't know, that would be, yeah, I don't know if that's a
That's
question.
not under that's a contract issue, and who knows really, without a mortgage, who knows what that contract is really about?
Right.
So we're gonna stay with $70 per residential property?
I mean, we got 3 readings to
Okay,
go on
that's
this. I mean,
fine.
there's gonna
We
be a
can
lot of
think
people,
about
we're probably gonna get landlords that are gonna.
I
Well, that
do
would be
want to
nice.
throw something out that Vito said for the mayor or whoever to look into, but, because maybe legally we can't do that, but is the financial part. If somebody is, has a financial, takes their, look at them financially as far as rentals, you're gonna get a good idea of whether or not that every penny they're gonna have, there's gonna be no money go back in there if they have financial obligations or issues. I don't know if you can do it legally, but I certainly, and I don't know where the cutoff is, but it ought to be at least thought of somewhere as we move on, I think.
You know, I have talked to, I'm not gonna say a lot, but I've talked to several people out in the recent years, and I have heard people say they came to Beech Grove to rent because of the rental price. They came, now, they seemed like nice families, you know, I'm not saying their property was spit spot, but they did seem like nice families, but they did say they came here over Greenwood and other areas because of the affordability of the
You
rentals.
get a lot of bang for your buck at Beech Grove for
So I don't know if
$1,000
that's.
a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Sandy and I were talking before that she had struggled with her own trials with some of these properties. And being a member of the Board of Works, do you have anything you'd like to input here, Sandy?
That's what we need.
Sandy, you'll be the,
go on my tirade.
you'll be the perfect one.
Good.
to talk about.
Need input.
We had some really bad neighbors. I live on Arcola Court, which is on the south end of Beech Grove. We have a beautiful court, people that take care of the yards, and we had a homeowner move in. They decided to move out and rent their home. It is a 2-story, beautiful property. The people came in and literally trashed it. I would like to have people over to our house. We couldn't have people over because it looked that bad. And because people in the neighborhood knew that I was on the Board of Public Works and Safety, they would come to me with their complaints. So the lady that lived there, she would go out our trash days throughout the city and pick trash and bring it back to the house, and she would sell it in a garage sale. The garage was filled from floor to ceiling. The driveway was full. A lot of times, all that stuff ended up at the curb for our city to come pick up all the trash. And after 2 years of compliance being over there and the fines, the homeowner paid one $100 fine. He don't care. He's collecting $1,200 a month off this house. He don't care what they're doing. Fine, pay $100, big deal. He's still getting $1,200 a month. We finally got rid of the people. My husband and I cleaned that property, mowed grass. Dennis even got up on a ladder and cleaned the roof for the kids. One was in first grade and one was not even in school yet, would play out on the roof. Screens hanging out. So right now, these people are gone. The homeowner, his son, and his wife and new baby moved into the house. They lived there for 2 months. They had to move out. The renters there have ruined the plumbing. There is mold throughout the house. They've had to knock down the sunroom that was on the back, and we've never seen anybody there since. I called Mark out last week to have them come mow the grass. The grass was up to my waist. And they mowed the grass because Mark called them. He came out, mowed the grass. But the property looks like hell. Now, what's going to happen to this house in our neighborhood? You know, I encourage you to bump that up high, make these homeowners accountable, because it's tearing our city apart.
So
Well,
when you
that-
say
that
high.
sounds like what Vito was talking
Yeah.
about somebody that is a chronic compliance problem person. Why, we ought to build in some serious fees for the homeowner then.
Yep.
So
Especially
that
that repeating
homeowner,
thing Mark mentioned too, and you bring up, that, you know, somebody could make a mistake or have a problem, but when it gets, the repetitiveness is ridiculous.
It is bad. And the transit, it's what's really sad, that really bothers me the most about having this neighbor just totally not care about his property. I live in Beech Grove. I have to have ADT now because of the transient people that were coming in to look at the trash that she picked up.
oh dear.
Yeah,
It-
we're looking at your house the whole time too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So that person
Up
should
later, I
never,
guess, at your
based
house.
upon her history, should never be licensed to rent that place.
Well, I would think that we need to build something into the penalties, that after a certain amount of penalties or a certain amount of repeat offenses, that we
and
revoke
they're
the
done.
license.
Yeah, yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
That would, we would have to revisit the chapter 98, the nuisance ordinance. You
Yeah.
can do that. You guys
Okay.
set the rules.
Got to clean it up.
I think that's a good statement. I really do believe that it is part of what, we try to fix so many things instead of the true home ownership part of Beech Grove, and I think that's the core of really where we're at as a city.
Right. I mean, this is my home. This is
Yeah.
my home. It's where I raised my family. It's where I live. It's the pride that I have for this city, and people like this are just taking it away from us. It's killing my property value.
Not all renters, I mean, the people that live next door to me, I mean, they've been renting
Right.
for 9 years, and they're great people. I mean, get along with it, take care of their yard. I mean, but it's like we all said, the transient, it's eliminating the sense of community
Right,
in this
exactly.
area.
We had one in our neighborhood that they didn't rent it. They just, nobody at all lived there for 9 years. And it just fell into disrepair.
Yeah.
Dave Harrison's gotta live next door to me, and I'm not a renter, so I don't know where he's going now, so.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We have to put more responsibility on the owners of these properties, and that they have to, the fines have to be higher when Mark has to go out there numerous times. They have to.
And
They have a choice in life. They can sell their home, and if they want to get involved in this rental business, for whatever reason, and it works for them, that's great. But it's not like everybody leaves their home to rent. That's an option they take because they believe it to be a good one for them. So there's something there, and I agree that if they believe it is, then we need to make them keep their word at it. And part of renting your home is you're gonna have to do X, Y, and Z.
What's poor business
Maybe
practices?
they will sell it. That wouldn't be too bad either, you know?
I mean, several of you guys have your own business, it's just poor business practices. I mean, how could you stay in business if that's the way you serviced?
I don't really understand, like, was just mentioned a minute ago, but from Sandy, is I would think most people who rent, the bottom line in their idea of business would be the equity in the home. And it's seems to be, that's why the financial part is important, because if they're getting out quick to go somewhere, wherever they go, and their idea is to rent quick to get every buck they can, they're not worried about equity. They might have a financial problem. And whatever it might be, it could be a quick getaway. That's not everybody, and as mentioned, we probably got renters that maybe lived here, had kids go to school. That's just their choice, and that's fine too. That works well. But I just think we have to watch out on the financial responsibility, because these people who rent might be taking advantage of that. It's a quick way to get moving to the next project, whatever they're on.
I would just say, we've got some good renters here in Beech Grove. We got some horrible renters. I think it should be on a tiered system. You have one violation, it's this much, second one's next, third,
Well, that would be,
fourth.
like Dennis said, in that ordinance 98.
Right.
It's in there now.
Is it?
First-
But I think maybe it needs to be
Yeah.
bumped up for
First
second, third.
citation's $100, second citation's $250, third on is $2,500.
Right.
But
Well,
most of the time, we don't get to that third.
Well, the third one might not just have a money obligation, if legally, maybe can have more teeth besides just money.
Well, and with your good renters in Beech Grove, they're paying 3%, where a
Yeah.
regular homeowner. 2%, I'm sorry.
A business,
Regular
yeah.
homeowner is 1%. So if 50% of Beech Grove is rental,
See, that's another thing that it's a major undertaking, but the city would be wise to follow up after this registration to see who has taken advantage of the homestead credit. Because if they aren't, or if they're being legitimate, it benefits the school as well.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mark, now, how many times did you go to the house next to Sandy?
Where?
The one that had Sandy's
Sandy?
Her house. How many times were you there?
Well, part of our problem is he would do just enough. We'd ride him, side him because his grass was too tall. Well, he'd cut it, but then we still have other things. So, we probably gave him, wrote him up once, he took care of it, wrote him up, got a ticket, went back, something else, wrote it up, and that's where it gets kind of gray. Do we hit him right then, or do we, because he corrects it, do we let it go? Do we fine him, or do we, because we have to give him so much time each time we write him. So if you write him and you give him 10 days, and that 10th day, he's out there cleaning it up or making an effort to clean it up.
Was the owner of the property or the person renting it solving the day? Who was really?
We hold the owner responsible.
Well, I mean, who was actually, was he getting on the rental person and they went out and cut the grass, or?
The owner never showed? Okay. All I know is we were contacting the owner. That's who we send all of our.
Well, with this ordinance, he's gonna have to be licensed. So if this continues with what you're saying, then he could have his license revoked,
Right.
correct? I mean, he could be, okay.
Now, we also, almost all of this would be classified as environmental nuisances. But there are public nuisances that we already cite for as we speak. When we do, when our fire department delivers naloxone, if it's the address is, if it comes up twice, then the owner of that property is declared a nuisance. Don't care about names. This activity happened here, then you are now a nuisance. If you have excessive police runs, Parkview is a nuisance. 2 nuisance tickets within 4 days. They're now at $2,500 per response over there. And the moral of the story is to knock the behavior out.
Yeah.
On my street, the week or so ago, I forget when it was, violent domestic in a rental. The rental owner was declared a nuisance. issued a ticket. Last night, another violent domestic, same address, same thing. Response from the attorney, the homeowner's attorney, is that we will do an emergency eviction today. So, but that's what we use that ordinance for. And Patty could tell you as well as anybody, our neighbor is a rental. The guy lives in Madison. He could care less about the city of Beech Grove. That property is terrible. It devalues my home, my neighbor's home, who we try to maintain our home. The compliance department, I can't tell you how many times we've been out there on 116 North 6th. It's terrible. And the only way that I am going to get that guy's attention is to hit him in the wallet. That's it, because he could care less. So, as John Q. Public, you know, I think you grind these people and sock it to them because they don't. The guy on 6th Street has to cut up the apartments, has 5 apartments, he charges almost $700 a month per apartment. Doesn't live here, doesn't even live anywhere near here.
Cash cow.
Cash cow.
Yeah.
But with this ordinance, he's gonna have to get a license, correct?
Well, I don't think he's gonna be able to do business, because I'm gonna sit in front of the BZA and tell him, don't do it.
Okay.
He have to get a variance before he can get a license.
Oh, I see.
Anything else, Mark? Terry, you wanna talk?
I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
I mean, Vito kind of hit on it, you know, is this gonna have any adverse effect for people who are trying to do business here?
Not for the responsible ones, I don't think too much.
Just asking people to keep their property up, I mean, hopefully.
If you live by if your property is next to one of those people we just described, you'll understand real quick what we're talking about.
But it's not just rental properties that are like that, though.
Right.
You'll have some people, or homeowners that don't take care of their property.
And they're subject to the same nuisance ordinance.
My neighbor just finally cleaned up this nasty deck they've got.
Well, that took me a second to realize that. Will that affect any commercial, or is that all just residential?
Residential.
Okay.
Burn it, you
But we've got a good starting point, but I agree that we need to raise that
Yeah.
property fee up to, you gotta raise it to more than $50.
This was,
Right.
this is a good idea, though, that it's difficult in a council meeting sometimes with so much going on that we get a lot of information now before we go to voting on this. I think this has been a good meeting.
So this is considered the first read?
No,
I didn't think so.
this is just discussion. First
I thought-
reading is August 6th.
That's what I thought, this is just discussion.
Letting Monday Night Football.
So we have to
has not
figure,
started.
okay, good.
So get your changes ready.
Which changes, okay.
You know, to hit on something though, there are people that, I know I got 3 people I can think of insured that rent their houses. One guy's a preacher and lives in Canada. Now, I don't think he's from Beech Grove, but 2 of them are, and they live in Florida. And they've told me once their jobs took them there, and once they retire, they plan on coming back to their house. And I'm sure they keep their houses up, you know, but there are people that do rent for other reasons. I mean,
That's what I mean, you don't, whatever might be their purpose for renting, yeah.
the preacher that moved to Canada, I think he lives on the south side of Indy. I don't think he's in Beech Grove, but the other 2 are in Beech Grove, and they live in Florida and have every intent to come back to their house.
Is it difficult to evict someone? I've heard that it can be difficult to evict.
All claims court.
Not if you have all your ducks in a row. You know, there's certain steps that you have to go through, but
Get
not
enough,
that really
get
that
enough neighbors with baseball bats and get them out.
All right.
At least you're not for violence.
Any other comments?
Nope.
All right, ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned. Don't know what time, Dan.
8:27.
We all
Okay.
Kevin, stay out of my closet, would you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.